So I was thinking about an understanding that you may have gained from this course already, and how I could begin to bring those threads together for you, almost by shining a torch onto your learning and letting it reflect back to you, so that you could gain an understanding of how the three principles informs everything that we do in life. And so you've learnt something about innate resilience and about the impact of thought, that divine gift of creation that we've got, to make up, to create our existence day by day, moment by moment. And how those thoughts, pass through 60,000 plus a day. And they're a bit like the weather. And a bit like the weather forecast, we sometimes get them a little bit wrong. So sometimes our thinking can be stormy thinking, blizzard thinking, where we can't see a thing, where our level of awareness is next to nothing. And it can be, bright and sunshiny and make us feel light. And that's because we give attention to the impact of that thought on what we do. So when we're teaching, and we're teaching something like math or English or science, and if we've got a passion for that subject, we're vibrant in our teaching. We really can share that knowledge so easily. And it's the same with the three principles. It brings an inner vibrancy. It brings an understanding that informs everything that we do in life. And wherever your understanding is today in this moment, that's perfect for you. Just know that. If you're only on the first step of the understanding, enjoy that. There's wisdom there. There's great love there. There's everything you need in that first step. And the beauty of the three principles is it will continue to inform your life. It will go deeper and deeper and deeper. And it will be just there as you need it. And there's nothing for you to do. Just to notice this understanding and how it informs. It informs your thinking moment to moment. It informs your level of awareness. The gift that we were given to really enjoy this life in this body, this physical place, with our mind and our thinking, our small mind, our personal mind. So how does that all impact in the classroom? So I know if I'm learning something new and I have a piece of that learning missing, then I'll be searching for that piece of learning. I've been searching for a long time in my life for the three principles, for this understanding. So how can you carry on understanding about the way the mind works? The state of mind in the classroom, the state of mind in your life. Well, I know sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I might feel absolutely bouncy like Tigger, or I might feel fairly neutral. Well, sometimes I wake up and I feel a little bit less vibrant. And if I pay attention to those thoughts, which sometimes I do, it's a bit like, you have one cloud and then you pile up that personal thinking, those clouds, and then before you know it, you've got a grey sky or a dark sky. But do you know what? I know now in with this understanding that those storm clouds will pass through. And I can just go about the business of my day, or I can have or do something that will make me feel okay in the moment. So what would you do with this understanding, with behaviour, with teaching and learning in your classroom, in your school or place of education? Well, if you know that you have thoughts that fluctuate up and down constantly, but that they pass through because they are our way of exploring our time here, our life's journey. And that if we could play with those, instead of taking them so seriously, if we could just allow a chink of play in. So I was once brought a tiny child who was in serious trouble. Serious trouble. Those are not my words. Those are the words of the adult who brought that child to me. And the consequences of whatever the child had done was that they were finally brought to the principal's office. And I could see by looking at the child that they didn't understand what they'd done wrong, and given the circumstances, they'd go out and do whatever they did wrong again. But they were quite angry. They were quite indignant that they were brought to the principal's office. So what's going on in the context of that child's mind? What's going on in the context of the classroom? You see, it isn't about the behaviour. It's about, yes, managing, safeguarding, etc. But it's about where that child is and connecting with that child, or that member of staff, or another adult in school. Connecting in that moment where they are. If they're in a thought storm, then just sitting quietly. Being present. Being present is one of the most wonderful gifts you can give to any human being, especially yourself. So, as this small child, and very agitated, and he's moving around my office and he's picking things up and putting them down, and I'm observing him for a minute to make sure he's safe. And then I ask him politely, would you mind sitting down because I've got a really important email to do, and then we can have a chat. And he did, because that was my truth. And when I went to sit with him, he just started to cry. And instead of sharing anger and bitterness and injustice and all the things that little child felt, we shared what was really upsetting him in that moment. Quite sad things, actually, that may not have been unravelled had we just looked at the behaviour. And then there was another time when a child was brought to me, and I wasn't a teacher or a principal this time. I was visiting, looking after the staff's well-being, and there was a young child who hadn't wanted to come into school. 4 days on the run, her parents had brought her and she cried, and they hadn't managed to bring her out of the car into school. And nobody knew the reason why this child suddenly decided school was one step too far. And on the day that I was there, the principal said to me, oh, I'm glad you're here, Annie, because you can fix this child, and because you're a 3 principals coach, you'll be able to sort her. I'll go and get her and bring her in. And there was a kind of a no-nonsense attitude, and she is a very kind head. I went to get the child and brought her in. And while the head was there, I said to the young child, is it okay if we sit together? Just sit together, nothing else. And the child nodded. I don't know how long we sat together. And the conversation we had is irrelevant really, because what we did was we connected in that moment. A young child and a stranger, watched over by the principal. And we shared what her favourite thing in the world was, and I shared mine. And she drew me a picture. And then she started to cry, and she told me that the feeling had come back. Those were her words. I said, yes, I noticed that. I also noticed you smiling. And she smiled back. And I said, well, fancy that. You can cry and you can smile. I cry and smile, and I sometimes worry. What do you do when you're worried? And we had a conversation. Her state of mind when she came into school was absolutely full of fear, thinking, anxiety. And that's where the staff were pointing to, the fear and the anxiety. And all I did was sit with her and recognise her as a child. Because I knew the fear and the anxiety and the worry was made up in that moment. It seemed real, it seemed huge, but I knew it was made up. And she went back to class, and I gave the principal my number to give to her mother, because her mum didn't know who I was, and I know that's important for parents. And I was travelling along the Manchester motorway around the city, and I got a phone call. I know it was to do with social media now. I didn't know what the little girl's anxiety was at the time. And that happens to us as an adult, doesn't it? You know, something really upsets us. That the mum said, Annie, what did you do or say to create that everyday, ordinary miracle? And I said, I just sat with her and I was very present. She didn't need to tell me about her fears or anxieties unless she wanted to, because that would keep her stuck there. We just sat together. And I was really present, because being present with another human being is the greatest gift you can give them.